Christy.
Hey, Edith.
What do you get when you cross a canary and a lawnmower?
What?
Shredded tweet?
That's a good one. Hi, I'm Christy.
And I'm Edith. We're backyard gardeners from Colorado.
And neighbors.
And friends.
These days, gardening has gotten very popular.
And we've noticed more and more people picking our brains for tips and troubleshooting about gardening.
We're not experts. We just learned a lot about gardening from the mistakes we made along the way.
So welcome to Upside Down Tulips,
a fun podcast that celebrates gardening gone wrong.
Upside Down Tulips.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Christy.
Hello, Edith.
It's been a week.
And it's time for episode 28.
Wow.
Of Upside Down Tulips.
We've passed the halfway mark to a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's exciting.
It's very exciting. And folks, if you're interested in becoming part of our garden party, we want to direct you to our website where you could become a sponsor. We want to keep doing Upside Down Tulips for as long as we can for free. And you can help make that a possibility by just making a small contribution to our patron club.
Yeah, and you know what, Christy? I really can't imagine anything closer to free than our curmudgeon level, which is $2 a month.
Yeah, that's pretty
right?
good, huh?
That's pretty darn good.
I lose $2 a month and change in the sofa.
You can't even get downtown on a bus for $2.
Yeah, and we have fun rewards that people can get, like T-shirts and mugs and curated seeds from our gardens.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Where are you going to get that from?
You're not going to get that from anywhere but from me and Christy.
And you can also, don't forget to check out if you want coffee cups or garden journals or hoodies or mugs. You can get merch on our website.
Merch. That's right, merch. Patronage and merch. Mm-hmm.
And this week we're going to talk about seed starting.
Because we're in some places you're there. In some places in the country, I don't know if we're here yet, but we will talk about that. It's a really good topic and very timely as well. What are we doing next week?
We're going to talk about soil.
Dirt? You mean dirt?
Some people may call it dirt. You can call it dirt.
But you call it soil.
I call it soil.
We'll talk about soil next week.
There's a lot to talk about with soil.
Good.
Yeah. And how's your garden going, Edith?
Well, Christy, it's, 0 degrees outside.
Right? It's cold
God.
today.
I think I heard my rosemary shrieking in the night.
Oh, can I tell you this? Even though I already asked you about how your garden is going, because we talked about our rosemaries last week.
Yes.
And so yesterday, I took some frost cover and I wrapped up both my little rosemaries with it. And I put a bucket on top of it. And hoping that might...
A bucket? You're going to leave that bucket on there?
Should I don't know. It felt like a good idea.
How does it get any sun at all? It needs the sun. Of course, it's not doing photosynthesis right now.
Right. I just thought I'd wait till the temperature warmed up.
Okay, smart.
Because, I've also heard that with rosemary, you should just cover it with compost, too, in the winter.
Well, we'll see. That's what mine is, covered with a compost.
The kind I have is called ARP. Is that the kind you have, too?
You mean for rosemary?
Yes.
I doubt it. You know how I never know these things.
Yeah. I'm hoping that this is a kind that's good for cold temperatures, but they say if it gets below 20, rosemaries get really unhappy. Well, it's been in the teens at night, and this weekend it's going to be below 0 in the Denver metro area.
The high Sunday, I think, is going to be 4. That's like a joke.
Yeah. We might be buying more rosemary this spring, Edith.
Yeah, we might be.
Yeah.
Indeed, we might.
So I'm sorry your rosemary was screaming. What else?
I was screaming.
I thought your rosemary was screaming.
Yeah, the rosemary and me for 2 separate reasons. Christy, I had a squirrel in my house.
That sounds very frightening.
Okay, here's the thing. There's only one thing I'm kind of afraid of. Well, if by kind of afraid you mean terrified. And that is mice and squirrels in my house. So here's what it's actually, believe it or not, the second time that I have a squirrel in my house. The first time was a few years ago. And a squirrel on my porch, I have a window with a screen. It was summertime. He gnawed his way through the screen and I had the window open. He came into my house. I ran over to my neighbor Stephanie's. She is a badass, man. She came over with her daughter Olivia with a baseball bat and a 4-foot picture cut out of Elvis.
What? What does she have? To scare the squirrel with?
Yes. Yes, exactly. What? So she's got this baseball bat. Well, by the time we got back to my house, the squirrel had chewed his way out the other window. So he destroyed 2 screens on his way out. So we put the Elvis cutout in the window, and that is the last time. Because, Elvis's eyes, they're so smoldery, and they scared the squirrels away. So this is what happened this time. That was like years ago.
Okay, keep going. I'm with you.
So I have, this was last Friday, and I had a work Zoom meeting. And 30 minutes before, I was getting my notes together, and from my point of view, I could see my picture window, and I saw the blind kind of fall, like really, and make this clickety noise. And I'm like, well, wow, okay, I've been living here a while, but I didn't know that it just rotted. I figured it rotted away. I don't know why.
And you were focused on getting ready for your meeting.
And I was focused on getting ready for this meeting. So then I hear chittering. I hear like that, like angry chittering. And I look over, and in my picture window, there's a piano right there.
Yes.
The squirrel is on the piano, and he's raking the blinds, shrieking and raking the blinds. Well, I ran back over to Stephanie, my neighbor's house, because she's such a badass. She's so fearless. And I
baseball bat, Elvis painting.
Well, you know what it was this time that she's mellowed. She brought a have a heart trap. Have a heart. So she goes, okay, we're going to set this up right here by the piano. And then I said, I have a Zoom meeting. So she left. I'm on the Zoom meeting, and the squirrel is having a circus. I'm not kidding. The people on my Zoom meeting heard the squirrel.
Wow.
And how do you concentrate? I was supposed to be running the meeting.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I was just watching that squirrel. Finally, James, who was one of the people on the meeting, said, get a piece of bread, put some peanut butter on it, and put it on your porch. Leave the door open. And I thought, either that's going to work or it's going to bring the whole family of squirrels. I didn't know.
Party at Edith's house.
Oh, there's peanut butter. There's a piano.
That's right. They start singing songs.
Well, it worked. Thank goodness.
Oh.
At this point, it was dark, and I never saw it leave. But it got quiet. The chittering stopped, and I realized, Christy, he had been in my house overnight. He'd been in there overnight. There was squirrel poop.
Oh, no.
Over.
So he was really wanting to get out of your house.
He was probably as scared, if not more scared than me.
Yeah, but that chittering noise sounds really creepy.
Oh, that creep. And the noise of scratching on the blinds.
Oh, it sounds like a horror story.
It kind of was. It was like a buzzsaw.
Can I say this? Because I can't be the only one here, Edith, though. Is that, can we go back to the Elvis picture for just 1 second?
Okay.
Because I just don't, there was thought behind this that, because I understand the baseball bat, but why in heaven's name
She's genius. I don't know. It worked. She said, put Elvis in your window. It's a picture of him from the chest up, and it's 4 feet high, black and white. And he's got that smoldering look.
Yeah.
That ring of fire.
And that works. Does it work? It works on squirrels?
Worked on my squirrels.
And would it work on other things? Like, can you get it work on rabbits? Or
rabbits don't usually try
raccoons?
to get into your house.
Raccoons. I'm just very intrigued by this idea of Elvis as a rodent deterrent.
You know what?
I
bet it would work on raccoons. I've
never heard of this ever in my entire life.
Do you see where when you come to my house? Do you see where I have the Elvis now?
Yes.
Yep. Used to be right in the window until I got new windows.
Well, that is a new one for me.
Oh, phew!
Could be a whole new business aspect for the Graceland folks, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing.
And another reason that I'm so grateful to have good neighbors.
Yeah.
Because at the very same time she came over to help me with the squirrel, her 3rd grandbaby was being born in the hospital.
Oh.
I know. It was like a really special really kind of a special evening, really.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And maybe someday that grandbaby will become part of the whole Elvis rodent deterrent business that she's developing.
You know what? Yes, indeed. I will actually say that to her. Let's map out the kid's future right now. Okay, so that is my squirrel story.
Well, beside my rosemary covering, the only other thing I did in my garden this week was that I thought it's been so dry out.
Yeah.
Then I heard birds outside. I felt so sorry for them that I filled my bird bath with water, thinking that they must be so thirsty.
Oh.
And then, of course, the next day, that bird bath is
Frozen solid.
frozen solid. So I don't know what we do about our poor birds during we have no snow, no water, but that was the extent of my gardening. I do have a musing though.
Oh, good.
And this is in reference to last week when we talked about the 20 million more Americans that have been gardening. And this is a story that NPR had just the other day about the effect of all these new gardeners in America.
Didn't you say that most of them were like 35-year-old men?
Under
in that age
35.
group? Under 35?
The new gardeners are.
That is their second favorite. They watch TV and they garden. That explains the lower birth rate when you think about it. Right?
Maybe.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, this is what NPR had to say. They had this story, and I'll tell it to you really briefly. But it starts off by saying that Steve Larimore was hoping to triple the size of his garden this year. So once the seed catalog arrived at his house, he excitedly got his order together and he went online and started adding all the different seed varieties to his cart, only to discover about a third of the items he wanted were unavailable.
Already.
Tomatoes, gone. Kale, gone. Sweet corn, nope. And he says he was really discouraged because there were all these things that he wanted to grow. And this is because home gardeners all over the country are facing similar problems in sourcing seeds for their spring gardens, largely because there are so many new gardeners.
Wow. Christy, over the Christmas vacation, right after Christmas, when I went to order seeds, some of them were already out. It's true.
And I thought it was
December.
because it was a seed shortage. But what is interesting about this NPR article is that it is not because of a shortage of seed, but it's because they don't have the staffing to ramp up that quickly, especially during COVID.
Oh, my.
So they need people to process the seeds and put them in the packets. And so while there's no threat of an overall seed shortage, the run on seeds is causing shortages of certain varieties, and it's causing problems for commercial farmers because they're trying to get these varieties too, and they're not there because of all the home gardeners.
Well, get them now. We asked you told you last week, get them ASAP.
Get your seeds is my
ASAP.
strong advice. I'm so glad when I went to the seed store a couple weeks ago and I went crazy and I bought way too much seed. I'm glad I'm kind of
glad
have
you
all
did
this
too.
variety.
Yeah.
And I wanted to point out something else regarding seeds is that, and especially when we were talking about the largest group of new gardeners are men under the age of 35. I also found this really great quote by a horticulturist named Sui Kirill Surreal. And she says, "No one has a monopoly on gardening. People of all ages, all cultures, all colors, through all time have been pulled to the garden. We have needed to garden. People have. And white people may have turned it into a privilege that only they can afford."
You can garden simple, though, right? You can garden simple. You don't need...
Don't need to be fancy.
Not at all.
Yeah.
A container and some seeds. Basically, that's where you start.
But I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
Aspect about it, like all the things you think you need to have to garden and how it's become a privilege to garden.
Right.
When for millennia, it's just been something that we've had to do.
Yeah. Good point.
And then one thing else I wanted to say is that we got a little note from one of our friends who gets our newsletter. So folks, if you are interested in getting our newsletter, we just send it out, once a week, sometimes once every other week. And we'll talk about things that are happening with our podcast and have some funny stories in it. And our friend Steve wrote in and said, "Hey there, always love your subject lines." Because this week in our newsletter, the subject line was "Afraid of gardening? Grow a pair."
Your subject lines are so funny, Christy.
Well, I just want to share some of the subject lines he's suggesting for us in the future, which I'm going to steal. He says, I feel we're only weeks away from spayed and neutered. That's great.
Good.
And perhaps months yet before, does this soil make my bulbs look big?
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's so good.
So I'm going to use those subjects coming up in the future for our newsletter. And folks, if you want to get our newsletter, you can sign up by just going to our website, and we'll get you all hooked up with our newsletter.
www.upsidedowntulips.com.
Very good.
Thank you.
And if you hear words or terms that you're not familiar with, or you want a good laugh,
go to the dictionary, which is also on the website.
Upside Down Dictionary.
That's right. That's right.
And where do people go if they want to see pictures of our gardens, Edith?
I don't know.
You are so much help over there.
Could they go to our Facebook page?
Yes,
All right.
And?
Our photo albums? What?
Instagram.
Oh, see, I don't have Instagram. So
And Pinterest.
Spotify. YouTube.
Yeah, we have a YouTube.
Battlestar Galactica. Upside Down Tulips is brought to you by The Record Scratch.
Gardeners come across all sorts of surprises in the garden. Do you ever wish you had a sound effect to fully emphasize your surprise? Then you need a record scratch. A record scratch is the sound of a phonograph needle suddenly producing a single scratching sound on a record as an abrupt interruption used to call immediate attention to something.
Look how beautiful my grape leaves look. They have never looked better. Oh, Japanese beetles.
That early snow ruined my garden. Hey, looks like everything's gonna be okay.
I am so excited. Time to harvest all the potatoes. Yay! What? All that work for just one tiny potato?
The record scratch, the sound effect of surprise. Try it in your garden today.
This is a great commercial, Christy. I just have one question. What's a record?
So now let's talk about seed starting, Edith.
And by seed starting, we mean planting seeds to grow your own seedlings, which grow into your plants.
It's cheap. It's fun. It's a great way to start gardening.
It is. It gets you in the mood early because you're actually working, and it could only be February or March. Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be a lot of work. If you've never done it before, it's okay to keep it simple.
Yeah, just do one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, don't feel like you have to grow a lot of stuff. Just grow maybe one type of seed and see how it goes.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. So how do you do it, Christy? How do you start? What's the first thing you do?
Well, I was going to say that when you look at your seed packets, you should look to see whether or not they're a hybrid or an heirloom.
Right.
And, of course, we went into much more detail about this in episode 19, which you can certainly check out. It's called Something Old, Something New, Something Bioengineered.
Right, right.
But a hybrid plant is something that's been crossbred to form a brand new plant that will often have specific traits that will help it grow taller or bushier or greener or bigger tomatoes or prevent disease.
Right. And the seeds that they have don't always bear true, which means that the plant you get out of a hybrid seed may not be like the mother seed.
And so you don't know what you're going to get if you plant it.
Exactly. For that, you need an heirloom.
An heirloom seed will always be true. And this is the seed that's at least from before 1950. It'll be pollinated by bees.
I now have seeds from Thomas Jefferson's garden in Monticello. That was a Christmas present to me. Heirloom seeds from them. Yeah.
But check on to see what kind of seeds you have. And then also check on your frost dates, which is the average date for the first or last freeze that occurs in the spring or the fall. Mm-hmm. Here in the Denver metro area, do you know what our freeze and frost dates are?
Tell me.
Our last frost is usually May 9th, and our first freeze is around October 1st.
So right around May 9th, that doesn't mean run out and put your seedlings in the ground May 9th. That means check the weather, see what's happening. But that is probably the first possible time.
Yes.
Yes.
And we all know in this area, it sure can snow afterwards.
It's very
But it also seems because of global warming that I put some things in May 1st and never had a problem.
You just never
I risk
know.
it.
Yeah.
I like to gamble.
You can risk it. Yep, you can.
And you should also know what your zone is. And your plant hardiness zones will help you understand which plants will survive where you live.
Right.
And here in the Denver metro area, we are zone 5B.
Mm-hmm. That's why there's no orange groves here. We're not in the right zone for that.
And you might even have a microclimate too.
Right, you could.
And if you want to know where your zones are, and we'll put some links in the show notes so you can dig more into that. Okay,
sure. You need to know your zone. Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I do is I kind of look at my seed packets and I find out how many weeks it takes for them to grow.
Yeah.
And if it takes 8 to 10 weeks for something to grow, well, heck, you could start those pretty dang soon, couldn't you?
You could indeed, yes. And also, I also take notice of the germination rate. Because sometimes you plant something and it doesn't come up and it doesn't come up and you get all freaked out and you throw it away. Check the germination, how long it takes to germinate. They tell you that on the seed packet as well.
I've done that before. I thought these peppers are never coming up.
Yep.
So then I planted something. I planted cosmos in the same spot. And as the cosmos were coming up, guess what? Little pepper plants were too. And of course, they didn't make it.
And when you do that in a little tiny seed pot, they don't like that. They don't like sharing that little tiny seed pot. Yeah.
So to have a little calendar and figure out, there's some things that they have a really long germination rate. Seriously, you could start things in January.
Yeah.
If you want to grow artichokes, folks, they take forever.
Right, they do. I've never grown artichoke from seed. Also, if you have a packet of seeds and it's kind of old, you can test their germination to see how good they are, how viable they are. Just put them on a moist. I said moist.
Yeah, you said moist.
Put them
Good
on.
job. See, you can't say
Put them on a paper towel that's not dry. Put them on anything that's not dry.
No good sitting them for moist, people.
And those little seeds, they should germinate.
And just do a couple of them.
Just do it. Just do like 6.
And then you'll know if the seed is good or not.
Right. And you'll know how viable it is. I mean, it could be that 80% are good and 20% are not good. So then you plant more.
So you should think about what kind of containers you want to put your little seeds in when you're going to sow them inside. You can go fancy. You can go to your local garden store and buy some trays and pots.
You can also buy biodegradable ones that you can put the whole thing in the ground. You can do that too.
Or you can make your own pots.
You can use egg cartons.
Yeah, I think egg cartons are so cute.
I think they are too. And if you put a slit on the bottom, you can plant them in the egg carton.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. You don't have to take them out of the little pot.
Now, have you seen people do this with eggshells, Edith, that they will plant? They'll take a half an eggshell and plant in the eggshell?
Okay, I've heard of that, but I've not seen that.
And I'm wondering, can you just plant the whole eggshell then too, or do you have to dig it out of the eggshell?
Or do you crack the bottom of the shell?
Yeah.
Because little tiny baby roots,
If
how
any
can
of
they
you folks
break
have done
through?
that, will you let us know if you've ever started seeds in an eggshell?
And is there possibly enough room in an eggshell? What size are these eggs? Are these ostrich eggs?
Are they hummingbird eggs? They're so tiny.
They're
How
so
can
tiny.
I do that? What would happen? What about toilet paper tubes? Have you ever done that?
I do that. I collar some of my plants to keep slugs out with that. But no, I have not grown.
Yeah, there's a way to do it with a toilet paper tube, and you have to make like some. I'm doing this with my fingers, which of course nobody can see, but you have to make some flaps on the bottom so you can fold it in so there's a bottom.
Right.
I've done some toilet paper tube stuff when I've done winter sewing, but I find that the toilet paper tube doesn't really degrade that quick. And so there it is in the ground,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like newspaper, people will make newspaper pots. Have you seen that little wooden tool that people have? That it's a mold, and you can take newspaper as long as it's as long as it has the right type of ink in it.
Yeah.
It has to be soy ink, I think.
Yes.
That you can make little pots out of newspaper, and then you can plant the whole thing.
It's like origami.
Yeah.
It's art in the garden.
Yeah. But you could also use yogurt cups.
Yeah, you can use. You don't need to get fancy.
Little styrofoam cups.
Case. Yeah, but the soil,
Paper cups.
The soil, however, that you put in there is important. That
Yes.
you should not really skimp on the soil. Tell us about that.
Well, I think you need to really have seed starting soil.
It's so much better. Yeah.
It's very, very light. And you really shouldn't reuse soil. I'm a big user of I like to reuse soil a lot, and then I found out I wasn't supposed to do that. I think that's one of my garden failures that I've had is to reuse soil because it looks so fine and so good. It's really just best to take, if it's really old, put it in the compost pile and let it rejuvenate that.
Because I think little seedlings will have pulled the nutrients out of it. So then you're giving the next little seed not enough to eat, so to speak.
It's why you need to replant your house plants every now and then because all the nutrients will be out of it and the texture will be different and so. Right. And don't use compost. Don't use topsoil.
No, not when you're doing a seedling. Just use the seed starting soil.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's lighter is what it is. Yeah. And you want to make sure that when you are ready to start planting that you moisten the soil.
You have to. That's right. Because they're little teeny seeds, and if they don't get any water at all, and if you let the top dry out, you're not giving them a very good chance.
You don't want it to be sopping wet.
No.
But you do kind of want it to be like crumbly, not gloopy.
Like here in Denver, it gets, even when it's chilly out, the sun is so hot that I notice the little pots dry out in no time. So I check it. Sometimes I just give them the tiniest bit of water 2-3 times a day.
Yeah, or mister will work too.
Speaking of which, you know what else I do? You know those clamshell plastic things?
Yes, like if you get takeout from a restaurant?
That, and stuff like that. And like Costco, like when they sell you apples and stuff.
Yes, I've had those apple ones, yeah.
Well,
that's a lot of plastic.
It's a lot of plastic. And if you use those for your seedlings, you can close them at night and they turn into a little like terrarium.
Yes.
Keep the moisture in and keep the warmth in.
You can cover it. I think the most important thing, though, is that if you do cover them, you got to open it up.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Otherwise, you'll get mold.
Yeah. So you close it at night and then you have to open up.
Yeah.
Like first thing in the morning.
And the planting part's really kind of fun. I think planting's one of the most enjoyable things about gardening.
Yeah, I like it too.
You need to make sure the soil is compacted nicely in whatever container you're using. So it should be really fluffy. You should pack it in a little bit and then plant it as deep as the seed packet says.
Which is usually, isn't it usually like twice the size of the actual seed?
Yes, and for some seeds, it even just says lay them on top.
Yeah, like cilantro likes to feel the sun. Certain ones do like to feel the sun. Yeah,
and poppies like to, when you plant poppies, you plant them on top too. Oh, hollyhocks are also ones that need to see the
Well, that explains why they seed themselves so easily, hollyhocks. I mean,
yes,
they'll just take over your garden.
And yes, and when you water them, you should also make sure that you don't forget to feed them. Usually a seed starting mix will have a little bit of fertilizer in it. But once your little seeds start to pop up and you start to see the sprouts, you'll get a set of leaves, and then you'll get the true leaves. So the first leaves you get are sort of like
baby teeth. They're like baby teeth.
Yeah, they're like baby teeth. And then the second set of leaves are called the true leaves. And once you start seeing those, that's when you need to think about fertilizing lightly.
Christy, I have never fertilized my seedlings. What do you use?
Oh, Miracle-Gro.
You just use Miracle-Gro?
Yeah.
Seriously, I've never done that. Wow. So you see, folks, even if you're like me and are so absent-minded that you don't do anything right, you can still grow your whole garden.
Because as you've always said, Edith,
they want to live.
They want to live. Seeds want to grow. They know what to do.
They know what to do, right? They know what to do.
What about light, Edith?
They like light.
Yeah.
Because of photosynthesis. That's all I remember from all my biology classes.
They're so proud of you.
Photosynthesis.
And there's two different ways to give your little plants light.
You can do like I do, which is I take them outside and put them in the sun, and then I bring them into the house at night. Or
you can get grow lights. Some are very expensive and fancy.
Yep.
But you don't have to.
Nope. I have never had a grow light, and they grow anyway.
Yeah. I saw the coolest thing on, was it Etsy or was it Pinterest, where people have been making seed starting trays out of old bookcases.
Oh, wow. What a wonderful
Isn't that
idea.
cool? So you
Yeah,
take a
yeah.
bookcase and you put your seeds in there, and then on the top part of the bottom shelf of the shelf ahead, you can glue some LED lights. You can do fancy grow lights or just like cheap LED lights.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's
and you can
really
get a
nice.
little timer because they need about what? How many hours? 10 to 15 hours of light, you think?
Mm-hmm.
They need light because if you don't give them enough light, they'll get leggy.
Because they're looking for the light. Leggy means that they get less leaves and the stem gets really long and reaching for the sun.
And that means that stem is weak.
Yep, and it'll fall right over and it will not be a good plant for you.
Will not be happy. You want your little seedlings to be short and stocky and bushy.
Yep.
But you can have 10 to 15. You can get a little timer. I've seen people do that too. They can get there's cheap little timers out there, so you can have this bookcase of seedlings or even houseplants with these cheap LED lights on there, and just put them on a timer so you don't have to worry about it.
Very
you go
nice.
off to work, put it on a timer, let the lights be on there all day, and it'll turn off at night because plants need dark too.
Yeah, they do.
You can't have the lights on them all the time.
They get very stressed out. How would you feel if you never were in the darkness?
Isn't that what they do to torture people, isn't it?
It
Never
is,
turn
yeah.
the lights off. You're
Yeah.
torturing your plants if you don't give them some nighttime,
That's right. That's right.
sleepy time. They
That-
can't sleep. That's another way they torture
can't
people
sleep.
if you can't sleep.
And bad pop music.
So lights, you could use your own lights. And what's wrong with the windowsill? You can put it in a window. You could put your plants in a windowsill. That's the beauty of a little kitchen herb garden.
Absolutely. Try
Now-
to use a south or west facing window. North
Yes.
probably doesn't get enough sun.
Yes. And don't forget to turn your plants
Yeah, right.
every day.
And
don't
there you
think?
have it. You have started your own seedlings.
There's something else you can do.
What?
Some people put heat maps. What am I trying to say?
Mat. Heat mat?
Yes, a heat mat
Heat mat.
underneath, because that'll start germination and help your plants grow more. And you may think, well, that's a lot. I don't want to do that. So you know what you can do instead? Put your trays on top of your refrigerator.
Yep, you sure can.
It's warm up there.
That's a really good, if there's light up there, or you mean at night.
You could do it at night. Yeah.
The other thing you could do is, I suppose, you could heat up some rocks and put them around.
Yeah.
Like remember when we had that big freeze that came early and I put hot rocks all around my plants and then covered them?
Yeah. We should have done that with our rosemary this week.
God, we really should have. Didn't think of it.
And now they're screaming.
Sorry, Rosie.
And then, and once they're big enough for you to put outside, and once the temperature outside is good for it, maybe about a week before, you should start hardening them off.
Which means that you start leaving them outside for longer and longer. In other words, So you've been taking them in every night. You've been leaving them out, say, in the beginning for 10 hours. Well, then you want to move them up to get them up to 12 hours, 13 hours, until they're hardened off, until they felt some cold. Yeah.
And if all of that seems like a lot to you, don't forget you can always start seeds outside by winter sowing in milk jugs or any other type of recycled plastic. And if you want to know how to winter sow outside with less work, check out our episode 25 called Take Out Your Jugs and Learn How to Winter Sow. And that's what I'm doing right now. I have 18 jugs outside
There's
now.
a great picture of Christy's jugs, and they are... They're on our Facebook page.
Gardeners experience all sorts of emotions. Don't you wish you had a sound effect to fully express all your complex feelings? From the makers of The Record Scratch, the sound effect of surprise, comes a new bounty of sound effects just for the gardener. Introducing the slide whistle.
It is so fun to start seeds inside. I wonder how my seeds are doing. I am going to check on them. Hey, I see sprouts.
And the sad trombone.
I wonder how my tomatoes are doing. Oh no, I forgot to water them and they all died. am a murderer. But wait, all I needed to do was to give them a little drink sometime, and they came back. The day is saved.
And there's more.
Now it's time to transplant my little tomatoes into a container on my porch. I am so excited. Oh no! A porch pirate stole my tomatoes.
This calls for the law and order.
Not again. I am calling the garden police.
Try the slide whistle, the sad trombone, and law and order in your garden today.
You know, I really don't like tomatoes. Maybe I will just grow pot.
So, Edith, what have you learned this week from our conversation last week when we were discussing baby food and what was in the news?
And what was in the news was the fact that there are a lot of toxic heavy metals in the baby food. You know, mercury, cadmium, lead, arsenic, stuff that, well, I made a lot of calls. And I emailed everybody, and a couple of these companies got right back to me.
Wow.
Yeah. They were well aware. Some of them already had it posted on their website. Like, okay, here's what we're doing about it.
Yeah, they have to do something.
Christy, here's the thing. Now, all of them say the exact same thing. All of them, no matter how nice they are, when you ask them a yes or no question, you never, ever get a yes or a no.
Yeah. It's like politics.
It's exactly like, it's like, what is it called when you are dealing with the public relations? It's like public relations 101. Never, ever. Like if I said to you, Christy, are you comfortable? You'd probably go, yeah, I'm comfortable.
Yeah. But another person would say, you know, what really matters is the quality of the chair.
Exactly.
And the size of my behind.
Well, that's how they're taught to do it, apparently, because I would ask questions like, what is the level of these things in your baby food? And almost every one of them, I got the same exact things. It's in the soil and water and air. We are at the lowest possible levels. Well, what are those levels? We are well below the acceptable level.
Wow.
Well, can you tell me, do you follow the European standard, which is stricter than ours?
Oh, that's an interesting point.
Or the American? We cannot remove these heavy metals from the soil, Gerber told me. Gerber is, the parent company of Gerber Foods is Nestle, and they're based in Paris.
Oh.
This is all very interesting. So I think in Europe, when they make baby food, their baby food is much better than ours. Here, which how often does that happen with makeup and food? So I called Happy Family Organics. They're from Boise. Their parent company is Danone. No, I'm sorry. Nestle is Swiss, I think. Danone is the French one. Okay. And we talked for 22 minutes. 22 minutes. And it was as if she was waiting for me to explode and yell at her, which made me think other people had already done that. Really concerned people. And finally, we got down to this, Christy. It comes down to farm plots, sourcing differently. The reason there are so many toxic heavy metals in our soil, even in our organic food, is from 50 years of bad farming. It's when we talked about what Monsanto, after World War II, what happened with rather than natural fertilizers, we had all these chemicals left over from the bombs we didn't make because the war stopped. So to get rid of them, they made fertilizer. And then the bigger and bigger the agriculture got, and then Monsanto got involved. Now you have soil that can't grow anything unless it's heavily fertilized. And I think that must be, no one will tell you. And I've even looked on many articles, but that must be what it is.
Even organic food.
Oh, yes. It doesn't matter.
And it's baby food, but that it's not just baby food.
Oh, no.
It's all food.
It's all food. And here's the thing.
So why aren't we seeing this in other...
And why don't we know about this? Why do we feel good when it's organic, when it's full of toxic metals? And we have no way of knowing. But you see, the organic food, how long has that been going on? That's really gained popularity in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Bad farming has been going on for 50. It takes a long time to amend the soil. But rather than take the time, right, or farm further out, well, they just start growing it, and now we got all these toxic metals.
And these type of chemicals affect children so much more than they
because
do.
they're little tiny creatures.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then I found out something so as disturbing, if not worse. Did you know that all of our rice has arsenic in it?
Oh my gosh.
Did you know that white rice has way more arsenic? No, brown rice has way more arsenic than white rice.
Really?
Yes. Here's why. Arsenic, there's two kinds. It's inorganic and organic. The inorganic is soluble in water. Rice is grown in water. So it sucks it up. Our water is so contaminated planet-wide. They say the only good rice, the best rice you can buy is from the Himalayas because they're so high up. And it's jasmine or basmati. But don't feed your baby rice cereal. Was pretty much and if you're living on rice cakes, you're filling yourself up with arsenic.
Wow. And I just can't help but think of, because, we're theater people, folks. I just can't help but thinking of the play Arsenic and Old Lace and how that's what those old ladies murdered their gentleman friends with.
That's
arsenic.
Right.
It's a poison.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is a poison, and it is everywhere.
Well, Edith, thanks for catching us up on that.
Just amend your soil, everybody.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about soil next week.
Yeah.
And this made me realize how important it is to amend your soil. I don't care how big or small your garden is. Make it good again.
And there's lots of ways we'll teach you how to do it.
Yes, we will.
Okay, good. We are ready for Edith.
What is it?
It's Mailbag.
Ring, ring. Oh, God.
This letter is called Let the Sowing Begin from Paula from Florence. She says, howdy, deadheaders, which I love that.
I love that, too.
Thanks so much for the episode on winter sowing and the heads up that it was coming. I started collecting milk and water jugs and soda bottles a bit ago, so I was ready to take on winter sowing this year. After listening to the episode, I realized I needed more drainage holes. So far, I have 18 containers planted of vegetables with plans for another batch with primarily flowers. For veggies, I've planted Brussels sprouts.
Wow.
I'm so impressed to see how that turns out. Onions, spinach, peas, beans, lettuce, and asparagus.
In jugs.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm very excited. She says, thanks for making me laugh, Paula.
Go, Paula. Wow.
And she has a P.S.
Yeah?
I'm the one who wrote about my sister's year-old pumpkin in the fall.
I remember
The
that
white pumpkin.
The white pumpkin. The eternal pumpkin.
That wouldn't
never
die.
rotted. Oh, my gosh.
Well, she is sad to update that it isn't doing well. It seems that it has started to rot. Oh, well, whoever gets 2 years out of a pumpkin.
Yeah, really.
So send us pictures of the pumpkin, Paula. We want to follow it.
Yeah, we like rotten pumpkin pictures. Why not?
We don't have much going on.
We have not
and
yet.
That's
It's
what
still
gives us
pandemic, so please send a picture. You're right, give us some joy.
And thanks for writing to us. And folks, if you have a favorite gardening story, you want to share your successes, your flops, if you have gardening questions.
That's why we're here. We exist to hear from you. Really, we really do. So come on.
This is the kind of community we want to create.
Yes, it is.
So please write to us at upsidedowntulips@gmail or at our website.
Or at upsidedowntulips.com.
Very good.
There you go.
Nice. Okay. We're still having problems. Okay, folks, we've got ourselves together.
Okay, we do.
And now it's time for our inspiration of the week.
Our inspiration comes from Mr. Doug Larson, who's a funny guy. He says, setting a good example for your children does nothing but increase their embarrassment. That's a good one.
Right. Mom.
Yeah, so anyway, there's no gardening, so I thought I'd get a laugh here at the end.
That's good. I think we need to laugh every now and then.
He's also the one that wrote the bacon line.
I thought I recognized him.
Yep, he's a funny guy.
Yeah. Thank you, Doug Larson. Thank you, Edith. And thank you to everybody who's listening this week. We love you. We're so grateful for you.
We really are. And I thank Christy, too. I thank Christy for all the work that she does. Isn't she good? She's so much better than she used to be. I'm sorry, folks. I've had a long week. Okay, where are we?
I know. We're tired.
If you enjoy Upside Down Tulips, please rate, subscribe, and tell a friend or two or 12.
Yes. And special thanks to Denise Gentilini for composing and performing the Upside Down Tulips theme song.
You want to hear more of Denise's music? Who doesn't? Of course you do. Go to denisegentilini.com, or you can find that link on our website.
And don't forget, if you make a mistake, Edith Weiss,
the garden will forgive you, Christy Montour Larson.
Upside down to